First of all, it's great to be here, to have this speaking opportunity, which makes me both a little bit excited and challenged. Challenged because I was told I just have 20 minutes to talk, so that's a challenge. I have Italian origins, and if we start talking normally, that can take hours for a topic which I'm really passionate about. And challenged because I also want to explain to all of you what we've been doing in Santander in the last couple of years in regard to IT transformation. And my goal today is to explain to you why I believe that IT is really one, if not the most fundamental assets that any company in nowadays needs to master. Because if you think about a bank is nothing else than an IT company. And we're not producing any physical goods, we are managing information and data. And that's a bit of what my talk today is about. But I'm also challenged and excited to share something with you. I'm here, and the theme of my presentation is something I'm also passionate about. I want to confess, I love film and television. I like great films with visuals, great storytelling. So what I brought with you is not just my talk on why IT is important for Santander and how we changed it, but I wanted to make it a little bit interactive. So every slide is a little quiz. So on every slide, I took the logo of a famous film or TV series, and you need to help me to kind of guess what it is about. Some are easy, I think, some are not. Let's start with the first one. First film. Which one? Wolf of Wall Street, yeah, very much. That was an easy one, Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not sure, for those ones of you who have some working experience, normally when I'm being asked in my private life of what I do as a job, and I tell people, well, I'm a banker, I work in a bank. They get this suspicious look. So a little bit dubious, not knowing about, these bad people who kind of destroyed all our monies in the financial crisis. And if you believe or not, my brother-in-law really believes that my job is like this film, which is not true. It's not true at all. So banking is, like every other industry, a tough job. What we are confronting, especially towards IT, is that we are really old-grown companies. I mean, banks are hundreds of years old, and we compiled a lot of huge legacy systems. And we also compiled a lot of processes and ways of working which really come from the past. And we, like many other industry players, need to adapt. We need to change the way we approach things, and we need to transform. I actually believe that transformation is nothing which starts and stops at a certain point in time. So banks, as other companies, are still faced with the same challenge of the need to adapt to current market changes and demand from customers and also from workforce. If you think about the questions that people ask applying for a job are very much different than they had been 10 years ago. The technological questions we need to solve and we need to answer, and the strategic decisions on IT we need to do are very, very different than 10 years ago. And in this world, we also need to compete. So banking, if it was ever so like Wolf of Wall Street glamorous, I think I missed it. So IT in banking is like IT in other industries. It's a tough job where you need to be quick to adapt and to find a way to fulfill the changing market conditions. And think about all what happened in the last recent years with the pandemic, with inflation rates, with a lot of change. We all fight for the same tech talent. So it's a tough place to be. And as said, the presentation is about to tell you some of the things that we changed. We are in the middle of the journey. We are not through. Some things went well, some, well, not so. But we're learning. Let's go to the next film. Next logo. Anybody? Yeah, exactly. 50 Shades of Grey. Not so good film, need to say, but I think it fit 50 Shades of Grey. I like to talk about 50 Shades of Agile. You know, we started our Agile transformation, I think, more than 5 years ago. And what I do see is that, I mean, nearly every team has a different way of interpreting what they call Agile. But there are some principles which have been really successful for us. As you see in the headline says, stop doing projects. I really believe that you as a company need to stop doing projects. What I mean by that is you need to stop the mentality of a project, of something which has a clear start, clear end date, clear budget, and we deliver on time. No? We all know that this is not going to happen. So what we in Santander changed and what we believe in is teams. We don't want to finance projects, but we want to finance teams. Teams which are composed by people both from IT and business working together on a constant basis. Why is that beneficial? Well, if you start having teams working together throughout the whole year and you don't dismantle them after every single project, you know what? People tend to get to know each other. They get better over time. If you leave a team constantly working together, friendships are being built. The business starts understanding the technology behind, and the IT guys start understanding the business. It also has benefits of predictability. If I don't need to calculate each and every project where we know that the success rate of a project really finishing as it was planned is quite low, but if I finance the whole team for the whole year, I very much know and can predict how much money I'm going to spend on that team. So it's really beneficial. And the last element which really helped us, I think on that we still need to work. I say that with a smile. You know, for people in the C-suite, for the Vorstand and board members, it's so easy to start a new project. But guess what? Normally, our teams are filled. So all the IT teams, I never ran around in our company and saw a complete team not doing anything, just waiting for the next great idea. So what we in IT need to manage is from all of the million ideas, which are the ones which we do. And the good thing is about teams is if everybody understands that you have a number of teams, you have 100 teams, and the 100 teams are doing 100 things, if you want to start something new, you need to challenge your senior management in a very easy way. Well, if you want to do something new, what do we stop? Which is a very hard question to answer. But this really, the mentality of stopping talking about projects and talking about teams, joint teams, business and IT, which throughout the year work on a constant backlog, which can change in their priorities, but they have the security that they will continue working as a team. That showed tremendous benefits since we changed that model. The next one is for those ones having children. I have Italian background, I need to mention my children. I have a little daughter, 7 years old, so cute, and a son, 11. So for those ones having children, you might know the next one as well. It's a German version. Yeah, I saw somebody, Bob the Builder in English, Bob der Baumeister. So, well, you see there on the headlines, more builders, less buyers. We, since more than 3 years in Santander, Germany, we started a journey of decoupling us a bit from providers. What we believe is we want to grow in internal IT muscle. We want to have techies. I mean, that's why we are here. That's why I'm talking to you. That's why we are talking to the people over there. We want to be seen as a company who offers jobs to good IT talent. We want to acquire good IT. We want to have them on our payroll. If you are a big institution, being a bank or something different, you need to have people who know your systems, who know your system landscapes, and who are able not just to do stuff, but also to bring in ideas. The good thing about the constant teams, which I talked before, the more they evolve, the more they bring in their own ideas. It's not about senior management always knowing best. It's the teams knowing best. So what we started to do is we hire developers. We hire engineers. We want to have less management and more people doing. And we changed completely the ratio. I'm not going to bother you with numbers, but more than 3 years ago, we had minimum 2 externals per internal. We changed completely the ratio. We are now at 3-to-1 and minimum, and some teams even better, because we believe in that internal growth will make us better prepared for the future. So staying with some kids. The next one is an easy one. The next film is a quite easy one. I think everybody knows. Yeah, it's too easy. I'm sorry. The next one will be more difficult. I promise. Toy Story. Who's seen Toy Story? Raise your hand, please. A lot of people. For those ones who remember the film, and for those ones not having seen the film yet, although I doubt, you remember there was the cowboy Woody, who was a preferred toy of his little owner. I forgot the name. But you know, at the beginning of the first film, something happened. A new guy came into town, Buzz Lightyear. And then all of a sudden, some conflict arose. With which toy should we play? With the new one or the old one? Actually, that's the very same challenge for us in IT. And I think we haven't mastered that yet at Santander. But my experience is that, and I'm already running out of time, I know. My experience is that business always wants new stuff. I haven't ever met anybody from the business side being in a meeting talking about how we can reduce technical debt and how we can streamline our system architecture landscape. No, that's not. They want to do new cool stuff. And actually, my experience is even the developers want to do new stuff. No? To fix old stuff is kind of boring. But you need to balance both. Because once you start working in teams and not in projects, you will need that the teams understand that they are responsible not just for the business results, but also for the technical foundation underneath. So they need to balance and they need to find a way, whether they invest in fixing something and reducing technical debt and having then an easier life in the future, or maybe not. But the truth is, here, it's again business and IT who need to understand each other. It's the business people who need to understand the technology, and the IT people who need to understand maybe it's not the time to reduce the technical debt, because the next deal which we want to have with our partner is so important that we move in the priority the things which we wanted to do. But that needs to be done jointly. That's nothing. And I'm a strong believer. I was working on both sides, on IT and on the business side in my career. If you're not able to understand both sides, you will make wrong decisions. And they will catch up and they will hit you further down the road, for sure. I promise the next film will be a bit more difficult, I hope. If not, you're too good. But let's see. That's an older one. It's a classic. That's for you, Beatrice. This one I need to leave to sink in. It's a classic. It's a classic. It's a classic. Anybody? Stanley Kubrick, 2001 Space Odyssey. I see some nodding heads, some who haven't heard about that film. You need to, it's really a classic. You need to watch it. It's a bit difficult to digest, in my humble opinion. But in that film, it's one of the first, and for me, most classic sci-fi films ever. In that film, I said it's sci-fi. There is a space station, and there's a computer on that space station, which is called HAL, H-A-L. Originally, they wanted to call him IBM, but IBM was against it. So they called HAL. And HAL develops an own personality and stops doing what the astronauts want him to do. And then there's this fight. It's a very classical thing. I believe most of our incumbents, most of our old grown companies have the same problems. Our system architecture, our system landscape is so old, full with DB2 and COBOL, that sometimes it also stops doing what we want them to do. But you need to find a way. As the headline says, we would like to have a customer-centric stack. But truth be told, we don't, not completely. We are on a journey. Many grown companies do have big legacy systems. We have 5. We have really 5. And we have we are still searching for RPG programmers. If there are any, just raise your hand. If you're at university, you don't learn that stuff anymore. It's so old. But you need to find a way to still compete in today's market with those legacy systems. So what we learned is we need to decouple. It's a classic stuff. It's nothing new. Nobody in IT is wondered when I say, well, you need to decouple your front ends from your old legacy systems. But what we did on top, we invested heavily in automation, in pipelines, in CDCI. We invested heavily in test automation. Because as said, repeating, teams, we want our teams to be able to develop their code, to test their code, to promote their code, to find out it's wrong, and to do all the same again within the very same day. I remember when I was doing projects years ago, you needed to apply to a committee to install your software in pre-production. And if you missed that committee, well, bad luck, guy. Then you needed to wait a week. And after you finally got your software installed, well, you know what happens. You find out it's not running. And then you need to do the whole thing again, and you need to go to the next committee. You already lose 3 weeks just by that process. Most of our teams, and I'm honest, most, not all, most of our teams can develop their software with their business partner, promote and do that stuff in the very same day. They sit together. You know, our old grown people, they say, well, sitting together is something which we did long time ago, so we are coming back to the roots. But that's really essential. Next film. Again, I mean, that's an easy one, but I needed to include it, so. Yeah, I know. Legendary as well. Respect your tax strategy. That's not so easy, but it's a theme which I also was mentioning before. I believe that you need to own your strategic technology assets. I mean, think about Star Wars. If we would be the Imperium and we want to destroy a planet and we don't own our Death Star, and then we want to attack, and then IBM or somebody else is saying, well, no, you're gonna, we're in the middle of the release cycle and you shouldn't do that. So we give you a date in 2 weeks or maybe 2 months. That's not good. I mean, if you want to destroy the planet, you need to be able to do that in your times. Jokes beside, we are not going to destroy planets. Santander is a good company, diverse. We love people. I love people, humanity. But still coming back to the technology, you need to own your strategic technology assets. If you don't do, you find yourself in a dependency, which is tremendous. If you have big software vendors, they do this. They have an IT product. Of course, they do have release cycles where you need to conform to. You are not the only client. I'm not saying that we don't have providers. We have hundreds of providers. But the key strategic assets and the key strategic knowledge need to be in-house. You need to own it. And also on that, we are on a journey. We are not through. And we see that for some components, it's not so easy. So that's a balance. But from the concept, that's what we had been running throughout the last years. Now we are moving from movies to TV series. Also an easy one, I know, but still, it's a great one in my opinion. Breaking Bad, perfect. Of course, everybody, we are businesses, we are a bank, so we don't do that all just for fun, but we want to be successful in the market. As I said, again, constant theme, teams, business and IT combined work. How should we measure if they are successful or not? Truth be told, they need to be measured on the very same exact KPIs. We need to be measured on market share, on customer satisfaction, on turnover. So, and it's easier said than done. At the end, I believe that IT need to translate what IT does into business outputs. And once you share the same goals, IT and business, things change. Also, it's a very different culture if you share the same objectives. I remember in the past, it was a business team who wrote down requirements in a document which had a certain format, and then they passed that to IT. Then IT didn't say anything for 3 months and delivered something. And then all the debate started. That's not how we want to do that, because then you're in the finger-pointing game of, well, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, but that's what you described. No, I described something different. Yeah, and so on. Once you start sharing the same objectives, there is no need for that discussion. And also another example, when for example, we implemented our new online journeys, our digital journeys, end-to-end digital. So you can open a loan, beginning to the end, without any piece of paper, without any interruption, in under 5 minutes, if everything goes well. the first process which was designed was very different than the process which we have now up and running. Why? Because nobody can predict what customer wants to have. What's the better conversion rate? So what we taught our teams is start working together, use A/B testing, find out, have metrics, adjust to the situation that you see, and measure your success on common and shared KPIs. So, it's blinking red, which is not good. So, last slide. The Holy Grail, Indiana Jones, exactly. So, all what I said, I can't tell you that we in Santander, we found the Holy Grail. That would be naive and arrogant, which is not true. I was here to share some of the things that we applied, some of the things that we learned, and to tell you a bit about the journey which we are in. As I said, we started a bit more than 3 years ago, and I see that from a cultural perspective, in my opinion, the most important one is that IT and business starts to think about being one team. But of course, you need to enable those teams. And that's basically, for me, the holy grail of what all, not just banks, not just Santander, but all of the big companies have in front of them. And as all of that companies have that in front of them, it's a great place to be here. Because companies will need tech talent. We need tech talent. We need you guys. So the need of technology skills will increase in the next years dramatically. It's already high, but it will not go down. So be prepared. That's my advice to you. So as we as a company want to be prepared for you, and that's why we are here. That's why we are speaking to all of you. That's why we take time to get to know many people, because we believe that growing internal tech muscle is one of the elements of the Holy Grail. And with that said, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your very creative presentation. I loved it. It was so fun. And I love movies.
I need to say the first version, which was not allowed by our PR people, sorry, Bea, was full of screenshots from the movies. And when I showed it to them, they said like, no, you can't do that. We can't pay all that corporate
copyright. That's not the most fun thing to pay. Does anyone have a question? You can obviously ask the question in German as well.
Talking about Breaking Bad, when do you call Saul?
Normally, if things go wrong, we need to call Saul. But actually, as I said in the beginning, sometimes banks have a kind of strange image. Get to know us. I can talk for Santander. I work more than 20 years for Santander. I've been growing up in that company, and being 20 years in the company shows that I never had a reason to go, because I really like the culture. We had different TED Talks, and I think it's also a theme which everybody of us was saying. We are a team of I think, more than 30 nationalities. Half of our IT workforce, by the way, is non-German. So we are proud to, we believe that we are not bad. And if something goes wrong, well, everybody needs to have some Saul advice sometimes, I think.
Definitely. Any other question? Oh, I am running.
Yes, first of all, thank you very much for this great presentation. You were talking about teams, not projects. Are these teams also split all over the world? So you have some team members in Latin America, some maybe in Africa, some here in Europe?
So the answer, as many times, is yes and no. So if we just look on Santander Germany perspective and the, let's say, things that from a local German perspective we want to follow, we have the teams located in Germany with the different nationalities. Of course, Santander is a big company. We do have projects in common with our colleagues from other countries. For example, we also do have teams which started last year to work on a kind of international project where then Santander kind of recruits people from the different countries to be represented in that project. So we have, I think, 5 developers, if I'm right. Somebody's nodding there. Thanks, Michelle. 5 developers who are currently working in an international. So that happens. But the most of our workforce, we are around about 300 people on payroll in Germany, are working on German projects.
Thank you.
Great presentation. First of all, never saw one like that. And my question is about money transferring as fast as possible. And as you might know, like in Germany, if you want to transfer money from one bank account to another, like IBAN, it takes around 1-2 days, which is like crazy, according to now these days standards. Yeah. How do you tackle that, and how your company, thinking about solving this problem?
Actually, true. Sometimes I say with a smile, well, the idea behind PayPal was founded in Italy in the 1600s, but we got a bit lazy. So it's true. Typical bank transfers in Germany normally took 1 to 2 days. Since I think 2 or 3 years, there was this initiative of instant payments in Germany, and Germany is one of the countries being the latest in that. I mean, the UK and others. We at Santander, we joined. We were one of the first banks allowing our clients, and without any fees, to transfer money if the other bank is instantly able to receive. And not just for our end user clients, but also for our partners. That was super important. We believe that's a commodity. And if we banks don't adapt, customers, I mean, my wife uses PayPal much more than she uses our accounts, I need to say. But I'm working on that, so I'm believing that we can do that as well.
Yeah, but like that's the glitch. When you say about money transferring, people think about PayPal. They don't think about bank, and that's like I think the missing piece, which you just have to put it there, and then
I think so you're right, and I think what banks need to do is they need to adapt. They need to catch up with some of the competitors. Also, I was saying, the need to adapt is growing because the competition is higher than it was a couple of years ago. What we believe still, I mean, traditional banking, when we have a client, what we can help them with are different things. So in Germany, for example, we have a very big business part of financing cars, leasing cars, renting cars. That's both for the end client, but also for the dealer partnerships which we are having. And they have the same needs. For example, if a car dealer who cooperates with us sells a car, of course he wants to have the funds for that car immediately. And the better we can serve that, the better his satisfaction will be with us. What we've been seeing in the last years, I think we are on the right way. Still something to do, but you're completely right, and that's one of our priorities of improving and fulfilling more the needs that other players, non-bank players, showed us already in the market how to do better.
Well, thank you, and good luck for the future.
Thank you.
I sadly have to cut this Q&A short because we don't have any time anymore. But you can obviously visit the Santander booth and just...
Right at the entrance.
Right at the entrance.
Come and meet us.
Get all the questions answered that you have. Thank you so much again, and an applause for you.